I started from a really young age, and I always saw the difference that she made in people's lives. She brought them joy, and the world is a tough enough place as it is. So if we can find ways to make people happy and bring smiles, then I thought, well, that's what I want to do with my life. And even though I saw it was a hard business, I saw the reward that she got to have on the other end of it, and I've decided that's what I wanted to do with my life too.
Welcome to Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff, where we interview newsmakers, storytellers, and all-around interesting people. Sit back, relax, unless you're driving, and enjoy the show. Here's Jackson.
Hello. I am Jackson Huff. This is Not in a Huff. Thanks so much for joining me. As always, really appreciate it. This week's speaking with Olivia Harms. Now, Olivia is a country singer. We've spoken with some of those in the past. She's got an interesting story for sure, between growing up on a farm in Oregon that her family's had in their family for 150 years, to then moving with her husband to California to another great big old cattle ranch. Certainly has shaped her music. Something else that shaped her music is she's literally been on stage since she was born, and we're gonna talk about what that means and the stories behind that. But her mother was actually a pretty big country performer as well. So we're going to learn a little bit about that and how her mom has helped her with her songwriting and just how to be a better performer. And we're also going to talk about her time on The Road, which was a show on CBS that people were competing around the country as Keith Urban's opener. You kind of see it's a singing competition, but you also see kind of the behind the scenes of what it takes to be a performer on the road. There's CBS The Road, and then there's CBS On the Road, which is a segment that they do, those feel good stories. So I think I kind of interchanged them a few times here. I got a little bit strange with The Road and On the Road, but really, really awesome conversation. I think you're going to enjoy this one. I always love to talk to performing artists and learn just a little bit about what inspires them for their music, what the songwriting process looks like, what that performing process looks like. There's a little extra there, given that, she's been on a show that talks all about her performing. So I think you're really going to enjoy this one. If you haven't already, or this is your first time listening, really appreciate you going, leaving that 5-star rating. Definitely, given I've spoken to so many other country artists, you want to go check out some other ones, urge you to do that. But I've talked to so many others, between true crime and Oscar-winning actors to gold medal winning Olympians, all kinds of awesome people. So I appreciate you checking out some of those other episodes. Appreciate that 5-star on Apple and Spotify. Leave a written review on both, helps a ton. Go follow along on Instagram and on TikTok. But without further ado, here is Olivia Harms. Ms. Harms, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I really appreciate you joining me. If you would, just introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Olivia Harms, and I am a traditional country western singer and songwriter. I'm originally from Oregon, a little town called Canby, Oregon. I've kind of lived all over the place. I've lived in Nashville, lived in Fort Worth, Texas, and now I've ended up back on the West Coast. Now I live in Northern California with my husband on our cattle ranch here.
No, I like that. And I want to kind of start back in Oregon, because I think it probably shaped who you were a great deal. I think that you grew up on a farm or a ranch that has been in your family for 150 years. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, my great grandfather homesteaded in 1872. So it's a lot of years, and we got pretty deep roots in Canby, Oregon, and we still run cows and do crops and all that good stuff. So from one ranch to another, agriculture has always been a part of my background.
I like that. So you said to run cows. So is what you did when you were younger cattle ranching, and is that what's happening now too?
Yep, we still have a cow calf production, beef cattle that I grew up around, and then my husband's family also has a ranch, and so I guess I just moved ranches. I went south to California to a different ranch, but still chasing cows.
Yeah. Was that a prerequisite, or was that just a helpful bonus that your husband was also into the same thing?
I think that's just kind of how God made it work out. I didn't really know what I was looking for, but here I am.
I like it. I think that's awesome. I want to ask you now. I guess kind of we talked about your start. Let's talk about your start in music. How did you I guess how did you get that initial interest and decide, hey, I'm going to actually make something out of it?
Yeah, so my very first day on stage is kind of a crazy story. My mom was pregnant with me, and I was still hanging out. The due date had arrived, but I hadn't arrived yet. And so she had a very large show that she was going to play because she's also a wonderful musician and very accomplished. And she was signed to Capitol Records while she was pregnant with me. And so she went into the doctor because she said, "Look, I've got this show at the Portland Speedway with Clint Black, Ricky Skaggs, Lori Morgan. I really don't want to miss it, doc. So, like, what can we do?" And he says, "Okay, well, luckily he was a country music fan, I guess." And he said, "Joni, if Olivia hasn't arrived by the 13th, why don't you come in and we'll help things along?" So sure enough, on June 13th, she went in and they put her in room 13. And then true story, at 113, I arrived, and 2 days later, she went to her show and she pulled me out on stage and said, "Look what I did the other day." And I literally had my first start at 2 days old and grew up traveling with her and on the road and playing music. My first song that I learned to play on stage was "I Want to Be a Cowboy's Sweetheart." So I started from a really young age, and I always saw the difference that she made in people's lives. She brought them joy, and the world is a tough enough place as it is. So if we can find ways to make people happy and bring smiles, then I thought, well, that's what I want to do with my life. And even though I saw it was a hard business, I saw the reward that she got to have on the other end of it, and decided that's what I wanted to do with my life too.
I love that. I talk to a lot of musicians that say they got their start really early, but I think you may take the cake. You really were on stage maybe earlier than anybody else.
Yeah, I might have them beat.
Yeah, for sure. And let's talk about your. I want to later on get more into your you know, actual songs, but let's just kind of on a broad picture. Let's talk about your sound. If people are turning it on, what should they expect? I don't always like to ask people to compare themselves to somebody else because of course everybody's their own person. But if you've got anybody that, if you like this, you'll probably like me, that always helps too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start by kind of explaining my sound, and then I can give you a comparison. But I think truly my sound is kind of a blend of all different things. So, like if you're in the kitchen and you got your KitchenAid mixer or whatever fired up, then you take in a little bit of like the Bakersfield West Coast country, Buck Owens, Merle Haggard. You put some of that in there because that's very prominent. The country and Western, like the cowboy music. I grew up doing a lot of that. That's, my background is ranching. My mom kind of leaned more into cowgirl, cowboy music. So you throw some of that into the mixer. I lived in Nashville writing music for like 4 years. So I definitely got my own little flavor of the contemporary country. Throw some of that in there. And then to top it all off, rodeos and cowboys and living in Texas and playing honky tonks. That's a real core piece of the music that I make. So I think if you mix that all around and you put it in the oven, you bake it at 450, then there you go. And you get some Olivia Harms music.
I like that. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome.
But I don't know. I suppose if you like Cody Johnson or Ian Munsick, like those are a couple guys that I feel like I often compare my sound to, or like a little bit older music would be Susie Boggess or Leanne Womack, kind of that same vein. I think usually folks that like what they're listening to there usually can relate to my music and hopefully like it as well.
I like that. I think that's it. It's always great to kind of people listening say, oh, they're gonna hear some of those people. They're gonna be like, well, I've got to check it out now because that's my favorite artist for sure. So I appreciate you doing that. I wanna ask you, I guess, kind of about a little bit of a claim to fame that people might have seen you on already, and that's CBS On the Road. What was that all about? What was your feature, and what was that experience like?
That was crazy. It was about a year ago. Yeah, just about a year ago, I guess, that I was sitting on my couch here, and I just got back from the National Finals Rodeo playing music. And I was doing the not so glamorous part of my job, catching up on emails and creating content for social media, all the things we have to do. And I got a call, and it was from a number that I wasn't familiar with. So I picked up, and I was, saying, "Hello, how we doing?" And the guy on the other end of the line said, "Is this Olivia Harms?" And I said, "Yes, it is." And he said, "Well, this is Taylor Sheridan, and I'd like to talk to you about a new show I'm putting together. And I almost fell out of my chair. I fell over backwards because I thought somebody's spamming me for sure. There ain't no way that Taylor Sheridan is calling Olivia Harms. There's just no way that's happening. But it was him. Sure enough, he'd seen me play a really intimate house concert in Fort Worth and heard my music, and I guess my name stuck with him. And so he told me really briefly that he was working on a show with Blake Shelton, and it was going to be kind of like road based or called The Road, and it was going to be a reality music competition show. And I just wanted to know if I was interested, and I said absolutely. And so then he said, well, I'll have my casting producers get in touch with you. And just a couple minutes after that, I got a call from the casting producers. They wanted to set up a Zoom. So then a couple minutes after that, we were on the Zoom doing the initial interview. Like such a weird day. I just remember being like, this is so strange. You get up in the morning and you think, I'm going to get through my emails today. And next thing you know, you're going to like maybe be on a TV show. So wild. But the ball kept rolling, and I guess they needed a cowgirl character. And so I jumped through a couple hoops, signed the NDAs and all the stuff that you need to do that goes into putting one of those shows together. I'd never been a part of one or really been not interested in music competition shows before. And it wasn't because I don't think that they're good at getting people out there and helping with exposure. I just had always thought, if I'm going to do it, I want to be able to play my original music, because I think that's the best way for fans to relate. That's your most authentic way of representing yourself as an artist, is sharing songs that you wrote and that are a piece of your heart that you can kind of share with the world. And so as soon as I found out The Road's core piece was going to be each week the artists get to play an original song, I was totally sold, because I thought that's what I've been waiting for. And totally interested in showing folks what it's really like behind the scenes. It's not as easy as getting up on stage and singing a song for folks to vote on or judge you on. And there's a lot of pieces that go on, like going from hotel room to hotel room and stop to stop. You got sound checks, load-ins, you got time away from your family and friends. And this show did a really good job of kind of representing what it's like to be a true touring artist on the road, opening for Keith Urban.
And I mean, you've already mentioned kind of the uniqueness of this show. So it's not like a lot of the other singing shows that are out there. So it's a little bit harder maybe to ask this question, but given that you didn't exactly know how those shows work, you already mentioned that, you hadn't really even thought that to do something like that before. What's something about the process of, TV that surprised you most?
I was kind of nervous at first because as a girl, sometimes we like to watch trash TV. So I have seen The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and all those shows. And when I found out in the contract, it had said something similar to like, you're going to be filmed constantly. And I was kind of nervous about that, just taking in my knowledge, what I've seen on these other reality TV shows. But from my experience with The Road specifically, I was really relieved that, honestly, it was a very easy experience. They weren't like over here all the time. I didn't feel like they were trying to play gotcha at any point or set you up for anything. They truly wanted to like do it more as a documentary to show folks, watching from home, what it's like to be a musician. Because it is we're kind of an enigma, musicians, like it's fun. You get to come see us and we're on stage, and our life is a great time. And it does look really fun. You're up on stage playing your song. Sometimes you got a drink in your hand. You always look like you're having a good time. But there's a lot of things that fans don't see. And I was really happy that The Road took that into consideration and really tried to bring it to people's living room and like show what it's like to be a touring musician and, like travel around. And so it was a good experience in that aspect, that I got to like show folks, here's what it's like to be a musician. It's not all the glam and glory that maybe folks sometimes seem to think that it is.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And it's definitely a side of things that people don't normally see. And my own little part in that world of showing a side of my guests that people don't see is to play a silly little game called rapid fire, generally no follow-up. I'm going to ask you a few questions, some of the dumbest questions I can possibly ask you.
Okay.
I have some strong opinions about them, but generally no follow-up means I normally don't I don't say much afterwards. The segment's 8 questions, all kind of silly questions. Should you want to pass on any, you certainly can, but I don't think you'll need to because they're nothing hard at all. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready. I'll try not to overthink it.
Yeah. And I'm interested in your responses too, just because, the rancher lifestyle is not necessarily any of these questions, and you'll see that. But here we go. You're in a hurry. What is your go-to fast food order?
Oh, Chick-fil-A all the time. Chick-fil-A nuggets.
Chick-fil-A nuggets. I like it. You have $3 to spend. What are you spending it on?
Oh, that's hard. It depends on where I am. But let's see. Probably I'm a big unsweet iced tea gal and maybe some chapstick. Those are 2 essentials in my life. And I could probably get that for $3. Maybe not. Depends on where I am.
I think so, yeah. Dogs or cats?
Dogs, for sure.
Socks with sandals, acceptable or not?
No, I don't think so.
Where's one place you've never been but always wanted to visit?
Let's see. Maybe South Africa, go on a safari.
What's the most used app on your phone?
It's probably social media or my notes. I'm a big list gal.
Is there a specific social media you use more than others?
Probably Instagram.
I ask this to everyone, not just the musicians, but let's talk about music. What's one song that you hear and it's a banger, it makes you want to turn it up and jam out no matter when you hear it?
Probably Man, I Feel Like a Woman by Shania Twain.
All right. On the flip side, maybe harder again as a musician, but what's one song you hear and you just scoff and change the channel?
It's probably because I get requests for it all the time, but Freebird. Can't stand it.
You mean people have asked you to play Freebird before?
Oh, yeah. If you're drunk in a bar, and you're playing for one of those, there's always somebody that's like, Freebird! And you just have to be like, no, we're done. We're not doing it.
I'm kidding. Yeah, of course. I know about the Freebird thing for sure. Last question in the rapid fire is, what's one thing that you have that you really should have thrown out by now?
Oh, maybe an old blanket, probably I travel with blankets everywhere I go because you never know what you're going to get in a hotel room or where you're staying. You never know. And there's one that just travels with me. And this is probably a good reminder that I should just bite the bullet and get a new one.
I like it. I think that's awesome. I asked quick enough to try not to have any follow-up. The only one I'll follow up with is, you want to go to South Africa? I interviewed a gentleman, not from South Africa, from Zimbabwe, so relatively close, that was breaking into the country music scene. Pretty kind of cool mashup of that African music and country. It was a pretty cool thing. So there's country music. There's country music brewing in that area. So if nothing else, go over there and set the world on fire, right?
There you go. Yeah, we gotta we can get the cool drums and have some honky tonk African flair music. I'm in. That sounds fun.
Yeah, for sure. Let's. I want to kind of get to your world of being able to balance music and everything else. I know that you already talked about kind of doing the unglamorous side of answering emails, and then we've talked about having the ranch and helping there. You got a lot of stuff on your plate. So how do you balance it all?
It's tricky. I think that time management truly is one of the biggest hurdles that I have to figure out and work on, is just because you have so many irons in the fire constantly. I'll be getting ready to go on the road and there's all the prep for that. There's packing. There's, I still wear all the hats pretty much I do all the own booking. I do all the social media. I do all of, all of the things, along with trying to be a good wife and help on the ranch and, keep my head above water. And so I think I've just had to try to figure out where I am. When I'm home, I really try to be home. I try to do the office work when I'm home, try to create some content. And then same thing on the road. When I'm on the road, then I'm really trying to just keep my band in order. That's when we do a lot of our band rehearsals. We do a lot of working on new music. Just try to be where my head is at and really focus on what I'm doing and where I'm at, and try not to get overwhelmed by trying to conquer all of it at the same time. Because if you do that, then it seems like it can turn into this mountain of a to-do list. And then before you know it, you're thinking, how am I ever going to get it done? So if you kind of Just put them in their own little categories. It seems to help, and then you can kind of carry on without losing your mind.
Yeah, I feel like probably being able to compartmentalize that is probably what's keeping you sane for sure. So where in your career now, where are you at? Is it a 50-50 split of things? Are you more kind of on the music side, or where are you at with I guess with those compartments? Which takes up most of your time these days?
Honestly, probably music is still takes up most of my time. I play over 200 dates a year. So over the summer, my poor husband, I think, only had me home for like 10 days from June to September. I was on the road with the band traveling, and so it was a really busy time. But then I have times in the winter or the fall where I get to take a chunk of time off, and I try to make up for it, and be better at keeping up the house and doing laundry and like juggle that aspect of it too. So I try to keep it 50-50, but honestly, sometimes it seems like it's probably more of a 70-30 split.
Yeah. Well, earlier we talked about your sound, but I want to get to your specific songs. Talk a little bit about. I never like to just pick out a song and have people tell me about that because maybe that's not the one that they're really trying to promote or the ones that mean the most to them. So talk about a few of your songs, either whether they mean the most to you or I guess bluntly you're trying to promote them at the moment.
Yeah, so there's a few songs that are pretty special to me and have done really well. Two that I always get asked to play, and I like just makes me so happy is "Hey There Cowboy" and "This Ain't My First Rodeo." They're both very true songs for my background and who I am. I am a cowgirl at heart, and I play lots of rodeos. Cowboys are definitely a big part of my culture, so those two have been like big hits for me as far as independent artistry goes. And then I have a new song, my newest release, just came out before my first year anniversary in August. And it's just a little love song. Sometimes I feel like in the honky tonk world, we don't write as many love songs as maybe we should because we're always talking about honky tonking or breaking hearts or, whatever it might be, drinking beer on a Saturday night. And so the newest one is a love song for my husband and for anybody else in love out there because you got to have that part of it too. So there's definitely a wide array of things that I cover. All of them come from a very authentic place. I'm not a writer that can just pull something out of the sky and make it into a story. It's got to kind of come from a place of truth and realness for me. Just finished writing a new song that we debuted in Las Vegas. And that's kind of like it's kind of an ode and a throwback to that old song, Writers in the Sky. And I always thought that it needed like a female perspective. Maybe she was dating one of them. So we just finished that song up and played it in Las Vegas. But there's always a little bit of truth inside every song I write because I think, like I said earlier, that's the easiest way for people to have a sixth sense and realize that you're being authentic through your music as if you write it from your heart.
Yeah, let's talk about your songwriting process. Is it something that you do kind of on your own? Do you have you worked with other people on it? You already talked about how it means a lot to you to share some lived experiences rather than just the emotion of the day. So what's that process look like for you?
I've kind of gone through a little bit of all of it. I started writing by myself. I solo wrote, and that's how I started when I was probably 9 or 10. And some of my first songs were, I don't know if they were that good, but I wrote them all by myself and had that learning experience. And then I kind of, had my mom to help me out and just play things off of and get her opinion, and that really helped when I was young and like trying to learn what is songwriting, what's the process, is there a right or wrong way to do it. And so that was a huge help in my hip pocket. But then when I was like 18, I started going to Nashville, and I remember my first co-write. And I was really nervous because I hadn't ever done one of those before outside of, my mom, and that doesn't truly count. And I remember being so nervous because it's sort of like going on a date. That's how the best way I can explain it to folks that don't write is you go into a room and you're supposed to have like maybe a couple ideas that you can share with your co-writer and see which one of the ideas that you brought to the table or that they brought to the table that you might want to collaborate on and say, all right, let's work on this one today. And you're really just putting your heart out there and seeing if it connects or not, because I thought, well, what if I say something that's a terrible idea, and then they're either going to feel like oh, we can't tell this young girl that it's a dumb idea, or what if they do tell me it's a dumb idea? You're really putting yourself out there when you go into a songwriting session. And so that was another learning experience for me to figure out, okay, what is it like to co-write? How do I tell somebody, like, if they're this like really hit writer and they come up with an idea, like, how do I tell them no when I'm a nobody? How do I tell them I don't like the direction that this is going? So learning how to navigate that and have communication in a writer's room where you can just both feel comfortable to say, no, I think the song needs to go this direction, or like you share something and then it just sparks this, great chorus or a great verse, has been great. So I mean, I started as a solo writer, then moved more into just doing lots and lots of co-writes, and then for a period of time, then I was totally stuck on that. And now I try to keep both alive and well and merge them when I can.
Yeah. Another tough question potentially, but where do you get the most joy when it comes to the music world? Is it in the, I guess, the process, the writing, the recording, or is it in the getting out there and performing?
It's probably the performing for me. I mean, seeing somebody connect to my music is the greatest reward for me, to see something that I wrote, from, like I've said, a place of like personal in my life experience, and then put it into a song and play it for them, and then have them smile or start singing along. Or even better yet, I've had so many people come up at the end of a show and they have no idea what it does for me, and it's usually when I'm needing it most. Like, that's the way the world works. And God just sends these people to be like, oh, you're doing a good job, Liv, and this song really helped me, or that song really was like made my day. That's the biggest gold star or pat on the back that I can get, is when somebody says that my music has helped them or put a big smile on their face when they're going through something tough.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I always like to ask this question, because I've got some crazy answers in the world of performing. What's the most unique place that you performed?
Oh man, I have played some really strange places. Let's see. One of the stories that stands out to me is a couple years ago. I decided to buy a travel trailer and hook it up to my pickup, load up my two cow dogs, and it was during COVID, so the West Coast was really shut down, and that's kind of what ended up kickstarting my move to Texas. And so off I went, driving across the country trying to find places to play music while part of the world was shut down. And I ended up finding myself a gig in, I think it was Grants, New Mexico. I had not been before, and it was a winery, and I thought, oh, cool. I like wine. Maybe we'll play there. That'll be great. So I rolled into town, and I don't want to bash on their town, but it was definitely, probably not a very touristy capital of New Mexico. It was definitely a little bit of a ghetto town. But we roll in there, and I'm like, I'm sure these people are nice. We'll play them some country music. And I think we had, a few folks from town turn out. It wasn't my biggest turnout ever, but we had like 10. Woo, big, big night. And then it got all said and done. I played some songs for them. And the gal said, would you like to help us stomp some grapes? And I said, sure. That's something I've always, like, that's something people do. I guess that we can cross that off the bucket list. Why not do it in Grants, New Mexico? And so she goes in the back, and most wineries that you see usually have like a stainless steel tub, or the like oak barrels and stuff. Nope, they kept their wine grapes in those like Tupperware bins. So that was a unique experience to see. And she dumped it out, and she said, take your shoes off, take your socks off. It smelled absolutely awful. I don't know how long it had been sitting in those Tupperware bins, but I was too far in it at this point to turn back and figure out how to politely tell her no thank you. So yeah, I stomped some grapes, and then she gave me their specialty, which was green chili wine. And I don't think that I'll be returning, but I will never forget it.
Yeah, that's an experience for sure.
It's something. It's something.
I've talked to some wine people before that have made wine out of some crazy stuff, but I can't imagine what green chili wine would taste like.
Wouldn't recommend it. It
Wouldn't
wasn't my
recommend it.
favorite.
Ooh, all right. Yeah, I like that one for sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess in wrapping things up, and this is almost a non-question these days, but how can people find your music? I'm sure Spotify, all the regular places, but still shout them out.
Yeah, all the normal places you listen. You can find Olivia Harms music, or if you want to find like some real nuggets of us playing live with the band, YouTube has those. I mean, they're out there for you to find. But if you want to follow along and see what kind of adventures I'm up to, or see how cute my dogs are, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those things, I try to make it really easy for people to find me. So it's just Olivia Harms music. And if you want to see tour dates or grab some swag, then you go to oliviaharms.com.
Where do people go to book you when they need some grape stomping done?
Yeah, when you need the grape stomping. Right now I'm still my own booking agent. So, go to the website, send me a message, or find me on social media, send me a message, because I have played it all, and I still have a lot of places yet to play. So I won't say no, because there's a real adventure in finding my next venues, or flatbed trailers, or whatever that I have yet to play in my future.
I love it. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much, Olivia.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me.
So that was Olivia Harms. Great conversation. Always enjoy having on artists and just learning a little bit about them. Definitely no different today. Just learning about kind of growing up in the world of farming and a homestead that has been in the family for generations. Learning about literally growing up on stage with her mother, taking her on stage when she was 2 days old. We never say her mom's name. Obviously, I want to focus on Olivia in this conversation. But for those who's like, who's her mom? Who's her mom? Go check out her mom. Her mom's name is Joni Harms, who is a great musician in her own right. And I know that she shaped Olivia in her world of music as well, and has helped her along the way there. So great to see music running in the family. Great to see the world of farming running in the family. I really appreciated Olivia's time. Go check out The Road on CBS as well. As of this recording, the season is over, but you can still go check out the entire season on Paramount Plus. So urge you to check that out. You can hear more from Olivia there. Yeah, great conversation. Go check out Olivia's music as well. That's what it's really all about. All of her music is on Spotify and all the places you probably check out music now. I think you'll really enjoy it. All the links to her information will be in the show notes. If this is your first time listening, you haven't already, as I said in the beginning, go follow along with this podcast. Had amazing guests on in the past. Whether you just want to listen about music artists, whether you just want to listen about country music artists, you'll find plenty of other episodes. But we talk to so many people, from actors to Olympians to true crime to authors, all kinds of people that I think you'll find interesting for sure. So appreciate you checking out some of those other episodes. Give that 5-star rating on Apple and Spotify. Leave a written review on Apple and Spotify. Helps a ton. Follow along on Instagram, on TikTok, Not Enough Podcast. All of that helps. But we'll see you next time. Take it away, Chris.
This has been Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff. Thank you for listening. Be sure to join us next time, where we will interview another amazing guest who is sure to make you laugh or make you think. Or, hey, maybe even both. But until then, keep being awesome.